Today we're going to answer some more questions, but today I don't have as many, just have 7, so it looks like instead of answering a ton of questions really briefly, I'm going to try to go a little more in depth with each of the questions. So that's how it's going to work. Okay, so first question is, who is the president of SPAL Union? And SPAL Union. Here's the deal about SPAL Union. There is no president, and because the reason why is that it doesn't have a government that's like ours. It has a trade confederation, and what a trade confederation is it's like it's very similar to the other governments there, but it's not as centralized, and that's the main theme that I want to talk about with this. SPAL Union is not very centralized. It I like to point out that it has union in the name. It's started out as a union between the feudal manors of the area and the Trade Confederation of Corabare, and so they started to exchange things and goods and whatnot and favors, and it became union, kind of a union, and so it became like a formal country. Fast forward to modern times, and we have elected officials from each of the prefectures that basically have a lot of power in the government. And there's also the officials who were from Corabare themselves, or not from there, but they serve there. That's their job. They're kind of in the bureaucracy or whatever. And so basically, their form of government is just a little bit different. It's not organized the same way. And that's just a short little spiel on the SPAL Union government or whatever, their trade confederation. So that's just, so no president, yeah. Alright, so the next question is, to what extent is Trotta a better place to live than SPAL Union? Once again, I want to point out that SPAL Union is decentralized. And what we see with decentralization is that you see like local kind of officials, right, have a lot of power and things. And a lot of times like the federal taxes that come are a lot greater because the officials put like a little side tax on it so they get some of the money into their own pocket, and then that's kind of the deal with that. That's not the only thing though. I mean, they do have very high taxes in SPAL Union. Trotta doesn't really have many taxes because of the volunteer government program, and I want to get into the entire thing about Trotta government later, but they do have the volunteer government. That's like when you serve in government, kind of like a volunteer position a lot of your life, and so about 90% of the people there have like a volunteer government position, and so that's what they do. And you're not paid for that, but it's better than having taxes. It's kind of like a time tax or like a skills tax as opposed to like a money tax. I guess you could say that. That's a nice feature about Trotta. Another thing about Trotta is that the crime rate's a lot lower. The standard of living's a lot higher. People make more money in Trotta. There's a lot more stuff going on. Basically, that's a good way to put it. It's basically one of the most developed nations in the continent, and so it's pretty pretty good, So it's a pretty good place to live. You're kind of right at the forefront of technology, forefront of science. So that's the thing about that. All these questions, I go into topics just a little bit, and even though I did say I was trying to go in depth more, I feel like I am doing that, but I don't like hear just past like the 2-minute mark, and so I don't want to really like spend that much time on it. I would like to go in depth a little bit, but there's gonna be other videos that I'm gonna try to make about these other topics like the government and the economy and these big picture kind of things, and so yeah, so I'll try to work on that. Try to start getting such vague answers, I guess. So the next question, third question, is what is Kingston like? Notice I've started calling it Kingston because when you say Nigston, you have this unwanted kind of connotation that goes with that because you have a nig in there, and that's the big deal with that. So what is Kingston like? Silent N, rocking that silent N. What is Kingston like? Kingston happens to be the capital of Trotta. It's not the cultural center of Trotta, that's Trotta City. And it's not the technological or scientific uh, central area of Trotta, scientific or technological center of Trotta. That's Yard Village, and some things Rani is. It doesn't have that much trade going on there as opposed to New York port cities, which is like the big port area for them. They'll kind of like that entire western area of the continent gravitates to that port, so a lot of trade goes through Trotta. What is so what is Nixon like? Kingston like? Um, it's a nice place to live. It's the second nicest place to live behind Yards Village. Or I need to stop calling it Yards Village. The reason here is that it's really called Yardsville in present times. I've been doing a lot with like the past, the history, and it's called Yards Village in the past because like literally in like Universal Glisten was written to be like the village of Yard, and so Yard's village. That's like how you'd say it in English or second. And so as time went on, then they started to speak second. In Trotta, they started calling it Yardsville. So it's really Yardsville, and so behind Yardsville, it's the second most nicest place to live, and it's because it's the capital. It has like a lot of public works. There's a lot of nice parks and things going on. It's got a nice. Everybody has a nice income in the capital of the nation. If you go to Washington D.C., there's a very high crime rate in Washington D.C., but everybody seems to be making a lot of money in Washington D.C. So that's because you got all the politicians there, and a lot of politicians live in Kingston. A lot of government officials there, so you get some money coming in, and it's just a nice place to live. I mean, personally, I'd rather go to Yardsville, but it's still nice, and I want to do more on this kind of topic in another video. I know I keep saying this, but you should have to let me be vague for these kind of question and answer videos. I don't know. Alright, so our fourth question is, what is the most expensive neighborhood in Allen? And for this, I got my Allen map out. I don't know if you can really see that, probably can't because of the way it looks, but that's the Allen map. And you can actually download this. It's printed out. Of course, it isn't hand-drawn because your printer can't hand-draw anything, but it's still good quality. So most expensive neighborhood in Allen, I'm just kind of going through here. It's not really Allentown. Allentown's kind of the hood area, I guess. Allenham's pretty nice. Allendale is alright. Let's see. Allen City is downtown, so that's nice. But it's at the same time you got the city because it's like there's a lot of stuff going on like crime and stuff in the city, but there's like a lot of nice apartments there too, so you got kind of a dual thing there. Allen Woods is nice because there's a hospital like smack in the middle of it, so that really raises home prices or whatever. Okay, Allen Heights. Allen Heights. I really don't know if you can see this very well, but Allen Heights is kind of area right here with these nice roads, and it's basically I guess you could say it's like it used to be like the center of Allen Heights, or Allentown, or Allen, is the name of the town. So it, the remnants, like the ruins of the old feudal manor and the like museum involving that are in there because Allen used to be like the center manor of one of the feudal fiefs or whatever in Allen. So that was one of the feudal land areas, and so there's like the ruins of that. There's a lot of just like kind of rich people living in that area because that was like kind of the site of first development and things. And so it's that's like the most expensive neighborhood there. So are there any bums in Allen? Bums in Allen. Well, there's like an inside joke about this that involves John Prather, but that's a real person, and that's a real person here. So John Prather, I guess he's a bum, and I guess he lives in Allen, but that's kind of just an inside joke. Any bums in Allen? I'm sure there are. You got this wide kind of area of, if I can find it here in the map. Allen Park. Okay, so right here. It's this big square. I don't know if you see that. You probably see the word if you look. If you can read like with the blurry image, but that's Allen Park. And Allen Park has a lot of park benches in it. And so if you've ever seen big parks that have park benches in them, a lot of times you'll see people who don't have a home sitting in those benches. So yes, they can be considered bums. So I guess that those kinds of people do live in Allen. It isn't the richest country. It isn't really. It's nice, but it's rather live in Yardsville. But yes, yeah, there are bums in Allen. All right. So the next question is, what was the most important event in continent history? And I haven't documented all the history of the continent, all parts of the continent, but I have done a little bit of the early history, the early history of the western area, notably Town and the Second Empire. And so those are very influential, but there's also the civilizations of the eastern part of the continent and the island territories of the Mukern. And so none of those are included in this answer, but hopefully I'll be able to answer in more depth as I go along here. And date that I know of just right offhand that's not included in this next little bit is the fall of the Central Empire, which happened in 1431. And that date can actually be found in the culture profile, where it says like this is how the dates put in, like the day and the month and the year, and then it says like and you know what happened and you know what happened on this date, and that's the date when the Central Empire fell in 1431. And some other important dates that I have here just up. These are years in RT, which is any RT date is 0 RT is, well, I'll just tell you in negative YDY because 1431, because YDY is just like the reckoning used here, used in the continent now. And so unification of Town by Kutrata, and that's negative 1152 YDY. And that's like basically like the first civilization ever, city-state, little there. Got some more minor events here, and we have basically the Second Empire takes over Town by negative 893 YDY. And in Yards Village, the city-state, which eventually leads to the creation of the Central Empire, is founded in negative 505 YDY. And then the war, which is just called the War, from between Yards Village and the Second Empire, negative 446 YDY. And 2 years later, negative 444 YDY, Daliafer, Second Empire capital, it falls, and so that kind of leaves the power vacuum open in that area for Yards Village to take a stand. And so those are some of the more significant dates of the first little chapter of history, but that excludes the entire eastern regions and the northeastern regions and the islands. So I'm sure there's other significant dates that I have yet to document and take place. Lastly, we have the question, what is the name of the world slash continent slash sea. And I'm going to take this opportunity to go a little in depth with some landmarks. And once again, we see the effects of me working on mainly the western areas of the continent before I go to the eastern areas. And that we can see that in the fact that I don't really know any of the names of the landmarks of the eastern areas. The sea that is to the south of the continent, and the continent's north of it, great point to talk about the name of the continent. What I'm calling the entire paracosm, the entire universe for now, is the continent north of the new sea. But that's going to have to change because that just refers to the one continent. And I've already identified that there is the existence of a continent that is east of the new sea, kind of to the southeast of the north of the new sea. So right now, a temporary name. In universal glyphs, there's a name that I don't have translated now, so I can't tell it to you, and it means the highest mountain or something like that. It means like the highest mountain in universal glyphs, and so they say that, and so that's their name for the continent in universal glyphs. And I don't have what they call it in Sekun or what they call it in any of the other languages like Simplex. Simplex probably just borrows the name of the world from Sekun and puts it in all caps. And they don't have it, especially don't have it for Makin, the new language that I'm working on for the island territories of the Makern. And that's going to be another meaningful kind of name to it. So that's the last question, and please check up on it. I'm going to be posting more stuff. I want to get a video about the government of Trada in soon. It's very significant to the way, really just the way that the entire western part of the continent develops, because of its just influences, and it's just important because it really is like the first type of government to arise, and it's discussed a little bit. I'll just shut up and